Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, The Importance of Reliable Test Results for Injectable Drug Delivery Systems. My name is Jennifer Peacock, and I am part of the marketing team at Zwick Roell. With the growing demand for biopharmaceuticals, needle-based injection systems are becoming more important. From syringe to pre-filled syringes, pens, and finally auto-injectors, there are a wide range of devices on the market today, and these devices are critical for patient safety. That is why they must fulfill high-quality requirements. We at Zwick Roell have been offering testing systems for needle-based injection systems for many years now and have observed over the years how requirements have changed. In today's webinar, we will give you an overview of the current testing requirements and our testing solution for these systems. Please go ahead and submit any questions you might have using the Q&A function, and we will answer as many as possible at the end of the webinar. If we are unable to cover any question today, then we will reply with the answer in an email. So now I would like to introduce two of my expert colleagues for today's webinar. Michael Goering, Industry Manager for Medical and Pharmaceutical in North America, and Peter Schmidt, Product Manager for Medical and Pharmaceutical, will share their experience and insights about materials testing for injectable drug delivery systems today. So welcome to you both. And I'd like to start out with the first question for you, Michael. Could you give us an overview of the growing demand and importance of injectable drug delivery?
Thank you, Jennifer. It is a pleasure to be here with my colleague, Peter. I would also like to welcome our participants to this webinar. First, let's take a step back. There exist several methods of drug delivery, such as oral, we're all familiar with those, pulmonary, some of us are familiar from inhalers and nebulizers, nasal, which, for those of us with allergies is a common drug path, and parenteral, which is via needle-based injection systems. Each of these types have different features and advantages. Oral drug delivery, for instance, is very popular, but has one big obstacle. Biopharmaceutical drugs do not survive in the human digestive system, and even if they could, the next issue is absorption, as they are protein-based. Therefore, these large molecule drugs must be applied by injection. Biologics are produced using living organisms and can be tailored, for example, by changing DNA in a microorganism. The pharmaceutical drug pipeline is filled with biologics to treat and heal a multitude of medical conditions. The increasing market for biologics has led to an increase in the use of injectable devices. Another driver is cost savings in the healthcare sector and the willingness of patients to minimize doctor's visits. This has led to a trend towards self-administration. For this kind of application, we need injection devices which are safe and easy to handle.
Thank you for that explanation, Michael. Maybe let's rewind just a little bit and talk about the drug delivery systems currently available on the market. So Peter, I'll direct this question to you. What are we currently seeing on the market, and what kinds of testing requirements are there for these products?
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Good afternoon, everyone. It's also a pleasure for me to be here, and a warm welcome from my side to the audience. So, Jennifer, there's a wide range of different injection systems you can see on the slide, and they are produced and used millions of times in the world for different applications. For example, in hospitals, doctors' offices, and other care facilities, and as Michael mentioned, even at home. So I'll give you an overview and some examples of the most important ones. And so let's start, most probably from your own experience, the syringes in the upper left corner. There is a wide range of those in different sizes, different materials. But the syringe without a needle does not help for any injection. So therefore you need injection needles, and there are also available in large selections with different diameters and different lengths. Another design of syringes are the so-called pre-filled syringes, PFS, made out of glass or plastic. These already contain the drug or the vaccine. The cartridges you can see are used, for example, in insulin pens for the injection in a screw-on needle that you need, and the insulin pen itself, where patients administer the right amount of insulin according to the measured blood glucose value. There are also special syringes available. You cannot see on the picture, but the so-called double chamber syringes, where the final drug is mixed out from two components. Last but not least, I want to close with the auto-injectors. These are injectors for single use of the already mentioned biologicals, also for emergency medications and others, like, for example, hormones or cytostatics for cancer therapies. These injection systems are subject to strict usage and hygiene requirements and must be tested very critically and accurately according to the specifications and standards.
Thank you. That is certainly a wide range of products. So let's start with the simple systems. Michael, which standards are relevant to these kinds of systems, and what do the standards require in terms of testing?
Yes, Jennifer. From my perspective, syringes, needles, and connectors are simple systems. For such products, there exists a huge variety of standards, some of the most common being ISO. So Zwick Roell is a member of the standardization committee ISO TC84, which is handling such injection devices. Relevant for single-use syringes, we have ISO 7886-1, which was modified recently. Zwick Roell actively helped to remove systematic failures that were present in the previous and initial versions. For glass and plastic syringes, we have ISO 11040 series of standards. There are 10 mechanical tests in ISO 11040, such as break loose, glide force, needle penetration, needle force, pull out, syringe cone stability, all seen on the screen. Syringes with connector systems like lure locks must be tested for their axial and torsional properties. For these systems, we have the ISO 80369 series. There are challenges in the current standard that will be removed in the version to be published. The most important impact to our customers and companies is that of reference connectors, which will be solved in the new version. Zwick Roell is now offering a complete testing systems which solve both the mechanical and leakage requirements as requested by the standard. Jennifer, we are discussing simple systems like single-use syringes. They require a lot of testing to ensure that neither the patient nor the doctor will be harmed by such a product.
Yes, indeed, and you can really see that there are quite a handful of standards involved here. So Peter, the next question is for you. Could you explain what kinds of companies require such testing?
Jennifer, the need of testing is a must with different approaches for different kinds of companies. So in the past, the processes have changed a lot. In former times, a scientist took care about developing a drug for injections. Today, with the availability of combination products, the pharmaceutical companies have to set up their own testing capabilities. Regarding injection systems, and later on we will hear more on auto-injectors, they are manufacturers for the injectable systems and components and the companies that fill the drugs into these injectors. R&D departments, design verification, and quality control are the key departments for the testing tasks. So for pharmaceutical companies, the medical devices are more in the focus today. This is visible in the requirements by the FDA and the corresponding agencies. Our customers must have to have a better understanding of the medical devices today, and they evaluate them with more intensive testing. As a summary, the medical and technology companies, so the developers of the devices, are responsible for testing of the empty devices and components, and the companies from the pharmaceutical industries have enhanced testing conditions with drugs or water or dummy liquid-filled injection systems, the so-called combination products.
Right, so we can see that this process is quite extensive and involved. Michael, does this mean that once all of these tests are performed, the syringe is a safe product?
It really was that simple, Jennifer. With our testing systems and methods, we guarantee that the products fulfill their intended use. However, one must be aware that the product itself can be unsafe. For example, a pinprick, which can cause an infection. We hear that in the news every day. In the standardization committee, we are working to integrate needle safety shield functionality to all injection devices. This will take time as costs are getting higher on the products, and not every country in the world can afford such costs. Zwick Roell has developed testing methods and tools to test such needle safety devices. An important topic for proving the reliability of a test system is gauge R&R studies, repeatability and reproducibility. Depending on the type of study, type 2, for instance, with operator influence, or type 3 without operator influence, the level of effort for fulfilling is different. The easiest solution from a gauge R&R perspective is utilization of automated processes where no operator influence happens. Zwick Roell offers solutions to fit this criteria. For type 2, Zwick Roell can support further with our validation and consulting services. When operator influence is reduced, such as with the use of pneumatic grips versus screw action grips, for example, the ability to achieve repeatable and reproducible results is increased. We have learned from our customers that eliminating the impact of user influence greatly simplifies reporting and minimizes additional testing.
Thank you, Michael. I think that gives us a good understanding of these simpler devices, but you also mentioned that there are much more complex scenarios. So what comes to mind for me are products such as insulin injectors. Is this considered a more complex device? And if so, what are the requirements for such a device?
Jennifer, that is a very good example. A pen injector is a very complex device. Imagine when a person gets too high or too low a dosage of insulin, this could have severe threatening effects. Therefore, such a device has to fulfill very strict quality requirements. For such complex injection systems, the standard series ISO 11608 is relevant. It is also handled in the ISO TC84 committee. As Zwick Roell is a member, we can tell you a lot of modifications are underway. Let's go into detail. ISO 11608-1 describes the testing of injection pens, specifically the dose accuracy. The challenge for testing is the design, geometry, and functions of such pens are very different. Therefore, the standard must be flexible to be valid for all products. ISO 11608-2 describes the pen-needle combination, specifically the functional compatibility of the combination of the pen and needle. In ISO 11608-3, the testing of finished containers, cartridges, used in pens and auto-injectors is described. Very important in today's market is ISO 11608-5, as this is the main standard for auto-injectors, the fastest growing segment. New to the industry is ISO 11608-6 for large volume injection devices, also known as wearables, which are now heavily under development. Zwick Roell is actively involved in this market movement and can offer innovative testing systems.
Okay, so before we take a closer look at the testing of auto-injectors, Peter, could you give us a little bit more information about the design and the working principles of such a device?
Yeah, sure, Jennifer. So actually the operating principle is pretty easy. So you can see on the picture, it's more or less self-explaining how it goes. So inside the auto-injector, there's a pre-filled syringe with a mechanical release mechanism, a spring. And analog to the manual injection of a syringe performed by the nurse, for example, the tension of the fingers is replaced, reproducible, by a spring that moves the plunger with the drug into the patient's body. Furthermore, there are many more advantages for using automatic injection devices rather than syringes. And first of all, I want to mention the syringe itself as a risk. It's one of the most dangerous medical devices. We have the risk of injury to the patient and the user. Another increased risk coming from a manual syringe usage is the infection. So for example, from dirty needles or dirty surfaces in the office or in the hospital. With the wrong depth of injection, the drug eventually is not effective. If the nurse is drawing up a syringe out of a vial and is reading on the correct dose, it's error prone, so there are mistakes in reading the right dosage. Non-complete injection dose, maybe this is a result of staff in a hurry in the hospital, is also a mistake and an error that could occur. And as Michael explained, pinprick is one of the most common types of injury in healthcare. So David, maybe you know from your side, from your friends or your family, that the fear of syringes and needles is present quite often.
Yes, that's true. I think people are often looking for a more comfortable option with the auto-injector. So now we want to talk about a little bit how this type of device is tested. What kind of solution can we offer, Peter?
Jennifer, all of our testing systems provide sequential testing on one test sample, and this is very important. The partial tests are required in ISO 11608-5 and the essential product requirements, the so-called EPRs from the FDA. I'll give an example for a typical workflow. But by the way, before I do that, Zwick provides testing systems for injectors with release button and activation via needle shield, which is unique in this industry today. Now I continue with the workflow as promised. So the first point is the so-called daily checks. Our customers appreciate the ability as the very first step of the testing process that the sensors like the load cell, like the balance or the microphone, the laser array are working correctly. Therefore, we have the so-called daily checks in the machine implemented. The first result from the standard is the cap removal force. After that, we measure the release force by a button or needle shield. Then there's the measurement of the injection time. And as an additional EPR from the FDA, there are the audible injection signals for the patient to inform him about start and stop of injection that the patient can feel and also hear the injection period. As the next, the injection depth that goes along with the needle length, and the injection volume is measured with the high precision scales. We detect also the color of the auto-injector that is correlated with the drug volume of the injector. And the last of the tests, the needle shield overriding force as an important safety function. So furthermore, we provide many unique features in our different systems. The current standardized solution we can see here in the slide is a result of very close and continuous developments over the last years that we did together with worldwide acting medical and pharmaceutical companies. So I think the best impression to demonstrate testing capabilities of the shown machine is with a short video. So lean back and watch a typical workflow. So you can also find this movie on YouTube channel under this title. And as mentioned before, the test starts with the daily checks for all sensors, and here's the one for the load cell. All injector specific parts have to be complete and in the right position in the machine. We ensure that with the Poka-Yoke principle. The insertion of the injector is very easy. to start the sequential test that goes very comfortably with a remote control. So the test sequence starts with the first step, and this is removing the cap and measuring the force of the cap removal. After that, the cap will be ejected in a special container. We continue with the measurement of the release of the activation. In that case, it's the measurement via the activation without the button. In parallel, we need to measure the clicks for start and stop. The complete injection process is detected via HD camera. We also have a solution to get the last drop into the beaker. The laser sensors measure the injection time and the injection depth. And here you can see the needle going out of the measuring area. As mentioned before, we can also measure the color that goes along with the injection volume of the auto-injector. And the final test is a safety test of the overriding force from the safety mechanism. The complete documentation at a glance. And unique in the industry is the ability to measure injectors with and without release button. The FDA 21 CFR Part 11 portion will be discussed later on. And as a summary, we can measure multifunctional testings with one test sample. We have the daily checks inside. We have guaranteed reliable test results. Because of that, the testing machine can connect it easily with the robotic systems for the handling, and our validation support with our own qualification team guarantees excellent qualification documentation. So Jennifer, as seen in the video, we have implemented a lot of capabilities in order to avoid user influence and ensure reliable test results. There are the daily checks for the load cell, the balance, the microphone, the laser sensors for the injection depth and the injection time. With the unique Poka-Yoke equipped change parts, along with the scanner and the software, you're always on the safe side with your testing equipment.
Thanks, Peter. That is a really impressive test sequence. Thanks for sharing that with our listeners today. Michael, you spoke earlier about the huge growth in demand for injectable drug device delivery devices. So as a result of that, it would only make sense that there is a high volume of devices that need to be tested, correct?
Yes, Jennifer, that is what we're seeing here, not only in the US, but in Europe and actually globally. As Peter explained, the testing is done in R&D QC production for batch release or incoming inspection control during production. The number of devices that must be tested per batch is defined by the acceptable quality limit or level, AQL, which depends on the knowledge and risk of the process. This number is defined by the customer and could differ significantly by the type of product and the risk assessment. We face projects with 8% from batch to be tested, which is much higher than other products. That means with high production numbers, we are also facing a lot of devices to be tested. That is why we implemented solutions that will increase the throughput. Such solutions can range from easy automated handling solutions, as we see on the left-hand side of the screen, a revolver system. We've also implemented XY stages, and then also to automated solutions. The solution on the right-hand side is more of an automation assistant, which kind of helps increase the flow, to fully robotic solutions, which can test up to 600 auto-injectors in a day.
So we have talked a lot about the mechanical aspect of testing, but nowadays we all know that software plays a very important role. Peter, how important is it to have testing software that can obtain reliable test results?
But Jennifer, software is definitely very important. It's the heart and the brain of the system and paramount for reliable test results. Our testing software, TestExpert 3, guarantees optimized workflows and seamless documentation. It covers all the requirements that are relevant for testing for all kinds of injectables. Furthermore, it also fulfills the requirements according to FDA 21 CFR Part 11. Jennifer, performance is documented in a dedicated Zwick Roell white paper.
Thanks, Peter. Michael, could you give us some more details about how these requirements have been integrated in TestExpert?
Certainly, Jennifer. We integrated the FDA requirements into our TestExpert testing software more than a decade ago without the use of third-party solutions. A few key important topics from the FDA's perspective regarding 21 CFR Part 11 are data integrity, basically no removal or manipulation of data, user administration with different levels of authorization. We've also implemented LDAP access where possible. This is a Windows type of solution. Audit trails even at the test parameter level. For example, logging any changes to test speed along with the old value and the new value. An integrated filter helps for ease of overview specifically for audits. Zwick Roell's traceability white paper, as Peter mentioned, helps customers with software validation and helps meeting the regulatory requirements and protects our customers in an audit. In addition, our customers can audit us. Additionally, we have our qualification services support customers with their validation of test systems. Our qualification services include DQ, IQ, and OQ documentation, along with the on-site services to perform these tests. A fully executed DQ, IQ, OQ for an auto-injector test system easily approaches 300 pages in length. It's quite exhaustive.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. I think that it's time to move to some questions, but I'd like to thank you both for giving us this comprehensive view of the testing of drug delivery devices today. As we can see, it is definitely a complex issue. So let me have a look here at some of the questions that have come in. Peter, I have one for you. You mentioned something about the Poka-yoke principle. Can you give me some more details?
Yeah, Jennifer, thanks for this question. So the Zwick Roell Poka-yoke principle helps a lot avoiding mistakes. It's a kind of multiple safety concept that includes mechanical coding, change part scanning, and control if the changed parts are correct and available. So if not so, the process itself will not start. With the Poka-yoke equipped change parts, you're on the safe side that the right parts are inside the machine in order to test the injector.
Thank you, Peter. Let me have another look here. Let's see. Another question is, our customers need to test multiple auto-injector designs, some with button activation and some without. How can I be sure that both types can be tested on the same system? Peter, could you take that one?
Yeah, I can take that one. So this is actually it came over the years in the long cooperation with the customers that with the different designs we had different needs of testing requirements, and it's also came with the safety approaches from the designers of the auto injectors, and they have to be tested. And so yeah, we can actually do both, and this is a unique feature today in this industry, and it just goes with the yeah, pneumatical setup of a testing machine. If you do that with mechanical testing only with the screw-on grips, it will not work.
Okay, thank you so much. Here's another one. Does Zwick Roell offer inline testing systems for auto-injectors that can be inserted into a higher speed final assembly line? Who would like to take that one?
I can take that as well. So the testing machine family for auto-injector is actually designed for, as mentioned before, for quality control, for design verification, and for R&D purposes. So inline testing is actually not a typical task for a automated or semi-automated testing machine like we have with our premium machine.
Okay, and Peter, I think there's a second part to that question also, and it reads, also, does Zwick Roell offer a basic benchtop system that can manage pen injectors and auto injectors?
So as mentioned before, we have a testing family for auto injectors and pens for different for different concepts and different requirements and also for budgets. And there are testings for auto injectors, pens that are standardized and customized. And so yes, we have a whole family for different needs.
Okay. Here's another one. We still have a little bit of time. Can you talk a little bit about the software that goes with the systems to monitor dose accuracy, volume, and other requirements? So maybe just give us a little more information about that.
Maybe Michael, can you do that?
Oh, certainly. So this is a combination of our test expert software along with the other devices that we have on the system. So for dose accuracy, for instance, we have a scale that's interfaced, and we have to input the density of the drug product to calculate the end result for dose accuracy. As far as injection time, this is a combination of our software with laser sensors that are measuring the injection time, and then even that in the injection depth or needle length. So it's a combination of our software and our hardware and the algorithms behind there that give us the accurate results needed to meet all of the ISO 11608-5, which is that full function test.
Thanks, Michael. I have one more here before we wrap up. Can you please describe the last drop management and how it works? Which one of you would like to take that question?
So I can take that. So the last drop management is also discussed very often, and since it is clear that one drop of a drug is therapeutically relevant, we have to find a solution for that. And as you could see in the movie, the last drop or the second last drop as well is falling down to the beaker, and we use one of our media that is already present in the testing machine, but how it goes in details is something that is Zwick Roell specific.
Thanks, Peter. I appreciate that. It looks like we have run out of time for today. As I mentioned before, any questions that we haven't covered in our Q&A session, we will respond to you in an email with a thorough answer for you. So thank you once again, gentlemen, for sharing your vast knowledge today. I'd like to quickly summarize for our listeners that our primary message is if you are carrying out mechanical testing of injectable drug delivery systems, we are here to support you. We work closely with our global customers, and our experience working with them is something that we value. So over the past 10 years, we have built an installed base of global players, and many of our systems have been featured in important media publications, as you can see here on the slide. Our goal is to understand your specific needs and help you achieve reliable test results. We can support you with testing equipment, application advice, consultancy, and help you with standards and test applications. And I'd also like to mention that our application test laboratory in Germany is available to help you carry out mechanical testing. Our global service organization is on hand to support you whenever you need us. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with us with any of your questions. So we hope that this webinar was useful to you. Thank you all for your questions and for participation. And we look forward to seeing you again at another Zwick Roell webinar. Have a nice day.